When my mom laughed in front of everyone and mocked me for still being single at 35, she thought it was just another joke, another way to remind me of how I had supposedly failed at life. Her laughter echoed in my ears, not as harmless humor, but as years of judgment piling onto my shoulders. What she never knew was that I was already married. And not only married, but I had built a life so far removed from her narrow expectations that her words carried no weight anymore. Still, that moment lingered, because sometimes the cruelest words come from the ones who should love you most. Growing up, I was never the daughter my mom wanted. She valued appearances, family pride, and the opinions of others far more than she valued compassion or understanding. While other mothers lifted their children up, mine cut me down. She would compare me to my cousins, point out every flaw, and when I hit my 30s without a husband, her disappointment became her favorite subject to parade in front of relatives. Being single, according to her, was not just a personal state. It was a shameful flaw that meant I had failed as a woman. What she didn't know was that I had met someone who loved me for who I was, who saw past my scars and struggles, who understood what it meant to be judged for things beyond our control. He came from a background my mom would have disapproved of immediately, and maybe that's why I kept it a secret. The years built up into a pattern. Family dinners filled with whispers, weddings where I was seated at the singles table, relatives asking intrusive questions, and my mom's sharp reminders that time was running out. It wasn't just about marriage, it was about respect. She never respected me, because I didn't fit her ideal of perfection. I had endured countless moments where I felt small, where her words chipped away at my confidence. Yet behind the curtain of her assumptions, I had already chosen my life. My husband and I had exchanged vows quietly, away from judgment, away from the noise of people who thought they knew better. We decided our love didn't need their validation. But keeping it secret meant I had to swallow insult after insult, and each one stung deeper. Her laughter at that gathering was the breaking point. She looked at me with that mocking smile, shaking her head and said, "No wonder you're still single at 35. Everyone chuckled politely, but inside I felt my heart race, not from shame, but from the thrill of knowing what she didn't. I let her words hang in the air, let her enjoy the moment of superiority, because I knew the day would come when the truth would flip her pride into silence. And when that day arrived, it wasn't explosive, it was devastating in its simplicity. We invited the family to what they believed was a casual celebration for my birthday. The room was filled with chatter, gifts, and the same relatives who had joined in the laughter at my expense for years. When I stood in front of them, I watched their expressions carefully. My mom was glowing, assuming she was once again at the center of attention, ready to throw another jab. Instead, I held my husband's hand and introduced him to everyone. Not as a boyfriend, not as a secret, but as my husband. I explained that we had married quietly a year ago, and in that moment the silence was louder than any words she had ever used to belittle me. My mom's face fell, her laughter vanished, and the room shifted into stunned disbelief. The shock on her face was everything I had carried with me during years of ridicule. It wasn't revenge in the loud, fiery way people imagine. It was calm, steady, and undeniable. She couldn't argue, she couldn't take back her words, and she couldn't laugh anymore. My life had already moved forward, built on love, respect, and independence, while she was stuck in her own shallow expectations. That was the true victory, proving that her judgment had no control over my happiness. In the days that followed, some relatives congratulated me, while others whispered about why I had kept it a secret. My mom avoided the topic, her pride wounded, her authority crumbled. For once, I wasn't the one shrinking in shame, it was her. The weight of her judgment lifted from my shoulders, replaced with a sense of power I had never felt before. And as I looked back on all those years of being humiliated for not fitting into her mold, I realized something. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is not shouting, not fighting, but simply living your truth until it outshines every insult thrown at you. My mom had laughed at me, mocked me, and shamed me, but in the end, her laughter was silenced by the life I had chosen for myself. And maybe that's the lesson. That no matter how long people try to define you by their expectations, the real victory comes when you show them that you never needed their approval to begin with. Would you forgive someone who laughed at your pain for years, or would you let their silence be enough?